So let's look at some of the other things we can do in the Camera Raw window before we open it up. So we'll take another negative or another digital file here and go in and pick this kind of murky yellowish colored nighttime street scene from Italy and open this image. In the previous exercise I double clicked on it. Another way we can open images is simply just drag the file on top of the Photoshop icon, and it will once again give us the Camera Raw window to allow us to put some adjustments on this photograph. So the adjustments that I want to start talking about in this tutorial is the white balance. As we talked about earlier on in the modules, we want to set up our white balance initially as auto. The really great thing about using the Camera Raw type of file is that we can basically change the white balance of our photograph in this Camera Raw window before that image actually opens up into Photoshop. So if this was a JPEG, I'd be kind of stuck with this really yellow type of photograph. But in Camera Raw, it's really a matter of simply going into the white balance and selecting the type of lighting that was present when the photograph was taken. So in this instance, this yellow light is very characteristic of tungsten lighting. Tungsten lights are typically lights that are like your household light bulbs, and they have this sort of yellowish cast to them. Sometimes your camera will compensate for it. Other times, like this instance, my camera didn't compensate for it. So I can just compensate for it in our Camera Raw window. So I'm going to take the white balance, go all the way down to tungsten, and select tungsten. And you'll notice it kind of cleaned up that yellowish look in the lighting that is present in this street scene here. Now, to make this image even a little bit better, I think we could just brighten it up a touch or two. And I think we've also still got a little bit of yellow present in the image. So on this temperature slider, you'll notice it goes from blue all the way over to yellow. If we want to get rid of some of the yellow, we just add the opposite of yellow, which is blue. If this image for some reason had a green cast to it, we could just add some magenta, or if it had a magenta cast to it, we would just add some green. So I'm going to go ahead here and actually even add a little bit more blue to it, and you can see now how that color in this image has a much more neutral quality to it. Now the million-dollar question here is that as a photographer, you have the options to either correct for that color cast or not correct for the color cast. It is solely up to you. So the interpretation of the scene is done by you as the photographer in our software when we're working with Camera Raw here. So there might be some people that would say, I like the scene neutralized with more of a color cast that is closer to white. And there's other people who might say, I like this yellow color cast, that it's very atmospheric and has sort of a moody feel that was present in this alleyway or this little roadway when the picture was taken. So the question you have to ask yourself is, which one do you like the best? And what are you trying to communicate? Are you trying to communicate sort of a warm, moody feel? Or do you want to get more of that neutral, kind of clean look to the image? For me personally, I kind of like it maybe about halfway between the two, sort of right about there. A little bit of yellow, but still just those neutrals cleaned up just a teeny bit in this photograph.